Now, it's hard to imagine that this particular individual would break royal protocol. Oh yes, but seemingly once again, in order to get some attention, the current mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, not sir, nobody wants to call him that, well, he literally did that with a huge backlash. As ever, let me explain. Morning chums, lovely to see you. Thank you so much as ever for taking the time out to join me today, and welcome one and all brand new subscribers. Well, have a lovely wave. Are you keeping well? I'm not so bad. It's blisteringly warm here. I can't get my teeth in. Blisteringly warm here today, but it's nice nonetheless. Some people might say that this particular image was nice. Now, do you remember earlier this year over in the United States, the current British Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Sir Keir Starmer, extended an invitation to the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and then, of course, broke royal protocol by announcing it in public. Well, clearly, nobody in Labour has learned their lesson, because when you think about it, and I told you this before, it wasn't the President's fault. He doesn't know our royal protocol. There he was offering, the letter out. People zoomed in on it, and then you could exactly read what, His Majesty had written. Always not really the right thing to do. A little bit like this man, some people say, Sadiq Khan, always falling short in looking after London. Everything's up, knife crime, rape, mobile phone theft, you name it, and the streets are very, very precarious to say the least. But amazingly, he's managed to get knighted and become Sir Sadiq Khan.
Every which way but not to answer it. Just how many grooming gangs have we got in London?
Avoid any misunderstanding, can she define what she means by that?
Yes, if you look at what's gone on in Rotherham, where there are people taking young girls, grooming them for sex, that is what I'm talking about.
We know in London there are issues about exploitation of young people, but they're not as defined by the member in her definition of what those types of gangs are.
So are you saying we haven't got the same sort of gangs that are in Rotherham, Bradford and lots of other places in the country?
Just fully what's a misunderstanding. What does she mean by that? You
know full well what I mean by that. It's all over the television. You know exactly what I mean by that. These gangs of people that are grooming young girls for sex. Do we actually have those in London?
Today, I'm unclear, Chair, what is meant by the question. If you could spell it out, I can answer.
I've just spelt it out. Are you not listening? It's the sort of gangs that groom young girls at a young age for sex. Exactly how much clearer do you want me to be?
Well, you might think that's fine. Well, the backlash, as one can imagine, over here in the United Kingdom has been pretty bad. But Sadiq doesn't really care about that, because as we've seen, he's very disrespectful to many people inside City Hall when they ask a very simple question about exactly what he does all day. It's a question many of us have been asking. What did he do to get the knighthood? Because clearly many people are suggesting he's being rewarded for failure. But here's where it gets all about Sadiq, right? So he comes out of the investiture and, as I said, looked rather smart, rather dapper, and then decided to show off the medal. Rightly so, absolutely, that's what you do. But then in order to bring it back to himself, he was asked a couple of questions, and he pointed out that His Majesty the King had asked him who was the more workaholic between the two. And apparently they both jostled about this and wrestled, and it turned out, oh, guess what? Sadiq was the hardest worker, even though His Majesty the King has just been voted the hardest working royal and is battling a health condition. But he didn't let it stop at that. Oh no, focusing once again back on himself, he suggested that also, during that very private and confidential chat, His Majesty the King had decided to point out that why had it taken so long for him to be knighted? You see how this works now.
Pleasure of working closely with the King. We were just comparing who's the bigger workaholic. He was very chuffed that he'd managed to personally give me this honour, and he actually apologised for it taking so long, which is not a problem at all. Obviously, from my background being the son of immigrants, my parents coming here from Pakistan, it's a big deal for us. But also it's a recognition of, I think, the way in which public service can be recognised, and I'm really
a double whammy, letting you know that not only is he on first name terms, they're very good friends, they're both workaholics, and including, of course, His Majesty the King into a political arena. Of course, one cannot really expect anything less from somebody like Sir Sadiq Khan, right? This is exactly what he does. Focus on himself, many people might suggest. But like his counterpart, the current British Prime Minister in Downing Street, their time is running thin, whatever people say. And naturally, awards are being given out left, right and centre, including another Labour stalwart, Emily Thornberry. Nobody can be actually bothered to find out exactly what she got the award for. But this man did. Yes, a former rugby player, and a ripe age indeed. A splendid man and very well deserved. So out of, some people might say, a bit of a bad day, good things can happen. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.